Hey guys, welcome to another edition of The Watch Collector. My name is Ollie. Today we're going to have a chat with Tom from TGE about his just general love of watches and as you can see, 4 very special watches, but one special in particular from a brand that I personally have a huge affection for. Tom, thanks so much for
having me. Yeah, cheers.
Coming in and having
watching
a
your
chat.
videos.
Tom, tell us, how did you get into watches, and specifically then independent brands?
Okay, so watches, many moons ago, probably 30 odd years ago. When I was a kid, I was just a geeky kid. I used to like draw watches. I used to be obsessed with, for some reason, the Argos catalogue, just getting like all the new Casios that came out, calculate watches, the ones that changed the TV channel, all that kind of stuff. Fast forward on, I then obviously got into the Rolex Omega kind of mainstream stuff about 15 odd years ago now. And then a lot of people slowly started getting sucked in towards the independent brands. Once you've had a sub and a GMT and you've kind of scratched those itches, I found myself looking around, what else is there? I wanted something that other people didn't necessarily even know about, and that I wasn't going to be in the same room as other people were having. And I just got sucked into this rabbit hole. And that was about, I'd say I'd been properly into indies maybe 6 or 7 years now, so a relative latecomer. But yeah, I think like a lot of people, COVID was when it kind of very much crystallized, and that was a massive catalyst for me in terms of just being like dragged in down this expensive rabbit hole.
I mean, I've got to say, Tom, I could totally identify with that.
Good.
And the idea of having a watch that no one else is in the room that's going to have is a big appeal to me.
Yep.
And on top of that, it becomes a real focal point and talking point.
Yeah.
Because the vast majority of the time, if you are in a room of other watch collectors, they will ask, "What is that?"
Yeah. Perfect.
But in a just a genuinely interested way, as opposed to what could be construed as a negative.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and what would you determine as your first independent brand? What watch did you buy first?
First indie. I think I went in at the deep end. Actually, I think I went up to my neck and that straight away, which we will touch on. We're not here to talk about that one specifically, are we? But
we're not here to talk about that specifically, but just to give you an idea of what's to come, guys, this is an extremely special Laurent Ferrier Grand Sport. We'll talk about it in more detail later on.
I lie, actually. No, I think one of my first indies and sort of recognisables, a sort of powerhouse indie, I bought a Jaune Elegante, and I don't actually know how to say it after Elegante. Yeah. Sorry, anyone that speaks French. I butchered that. I bought that in, I think, 2018 or so. Way under list. I think it was about 9 odd grand. I got called mental for purchasing it, but I love it. I should have bought that, actually.
Jaune is one of those brands that, as you actually rightly point out, a few years ago, they were available for a really good saving. And now, of course, if you're lucky, you can get one through an AD, but there is a really strict scoping.
Yeah.
Every single new watch that goes out the door is actually okayed by Francois Paul.
Wow.
So this is not a joke anymore. But as Tom rightly says, 5-6 years ago, not only could you buy them from the AD, you could get them on the grey market.
Well, there was William & Son as well, wasn't there, in London? So they had Jaune, they had Laurent Ferrier, I think they had H.Moser, I think they had all sorts of, Anderson Genève, I think, were in there as well. There was all sorts. I wish I'd known then, and I wish I had, back then it wouldn't have made any difference, I didn't have any money anyway, but I wish I'd known. I wish I'd had the means and the knowledge back then, because you could have just hoovered up all sorts of amazing stuff, just sat around in the window. And in fact, William & Son they disappeared because they didn't keep the lights on.
You're absolutely right.
They were well ahead of their time.
Yeah.
If they launched at sort of COVID time, I mean, they would be fighting people away with a pointy stick.
Totally, and let's face it, it's a terrible pun, but timing is extremely important, and especially when you come to indie brands.
Yeah.
And you touched on the 2020 as being kind of a real threshold for when they kind of started to take off, and certainly I can say from my own experience of the way that Rolex and Patek were treating their customers over that period really opened the door, I think, for the independent brands to really make a move. Okay, so we're going to touch on 3 of these watches in particular, including the one that I've just shown to you. But the real star, shall we say, is this one, second from the right. Tell us about this, Tom.
So that is a Ludovic Ballouard upside down. Again, sorry for the pronunciation. It is a 41mm case. It is platinum, and obviously the very special thing about it is it's a jump hour with a difference. There are 12 discs around the dial. I mean, a lot of people watching this will already know about it, so I won't bore on too much, but there's 12 discs around the dial, and the minute hand behaves in the conventional manner. When it gets to vertical upright 12 o'clock position, the hour that is going out flips back upside down, and then the hour that it's now changed into flips the right way around. So you can tell the time by the hour is on the disc that's pointing the right way around, and you can see because there's a little dot on the disc as well, which is actually hidden underneath the bezel when it's not the right hour. So you get this magical moment at sort of 12 o'clock, the disc you hear this sort of click, and there's one disc that flips around and the other one flips around 180. I've done an appalling job of explaining that, but hopefully you can see it in action here. I can hear it in action.
I'm showing it off now, and when I remember when I first saw this came out. Yeah. And there are plenty of brands out there that say, oh no, we've come up with a new way of telling the time. This is genuinely one of those ones.
Yeah.
And even because everything is upside down compared to the one that is the right time, it's actually super legible.
It is, yeah. And that little white dot is absolutely genius because, as I say, it does get hidden under the bezel, so it only appears when it's spun around the right way. Yeah, and the story behind like Ludo and what he's doing and what he's continuing to do, for me, I think he just encapsulates what I love about independent brands, having now visited him, which we'll get onto, because that's, as we're looking at it now, that's not what it looked like when I originally bought it.
So tell us a little about that, because this is one of the reasons why we've been very lucky for Tom to come and join us, because he did something quite special with this watch, which, as I understand, the limited edition helped you.
Yeah, but obviously Pietro's great friends with Ludo, and Pietro, I've been buying stuff off him for years. I've known him for years. We've watched geeks together for years and years. And I said to him, look, I've got this upside down, because I have inquired about buying one, and there was years and years and years to wait, and I'm so impatient. I had my save searches on everywhere, and this one popped up in Germany. So this particular watch I actually bought used. It is I think it's about 13 years old, thereabouts. Right. It's one of the early ones that he did. But I said to Pietro, look, it probably needs a service. I know you and Ludo are pals. I love Ludo, I think he's great. I've been watching him from afar, not in a creepy way. I've watched the documentary he's done. I know far more about the bloke than I probably should. I'd love to go meet him. Can we do something with the watch? It needs a service, and can I get a dial? Can I get a new dial? Because the original dial on it was this kind of, I don't know if you've seen it, it's kind of like a grey. Right. I did, this sort of mottled grey. And over time it developed some sort of like patina, sort of oxidization, something had gone on it. So I was like, can I swap the dial? And he's recently actually updated the hands as well. So I was like, can I get a whole package done? There was a lot of back and forth, and mainly some no's, but it kind of all got pushed through, and eventually we decided on a purple dial. So I got it customized, went to his atelier. Experience was absolutely amazing. He let me do some of the printing on one of the dials. It's so hands-on, and he was explaining to me that there's only him, and there's another lady in his workshop that kind of does some stuff with the watches. But he could expand it. The demand for his watches is huge, but he likes his workshop, he likes his life, he likes working with his wife and his dog in the atelier there, and that's it. You know, he's got no plans to expand it. For him, it's about the lifestyle surrounding it, and him having his own kind of little business that he can then potentially pass on to his son. And I just thought it was so refreshing, because so many of these manufacturers, they just want to ramp up and ramp up and ramp up, take on another watchmaker, make another model. But there was none of that from him. He just likes what he does. He likes going out for lunch, and we just went and hung around with his mates for half the day. But that's absolutely brilliant.
That's so important, isn't it? Yeah. Because 2 points there. First of all, the fact that you can actually get there, right? You can actually go and see the manufacturer and meet the
He's lovely as well, behind it, which I found is quite uncommon. I don't know who you've met in the sphere. I see you quite well travelled amongst all the makers, but I found that it's not always the most welcoming and the most open book situations to be in, and he was just such a breath of fresh air. He's just a fantastic bloke, to be honest.
I mean, that's lovely to hear. But so it's not only the fact you can do it, but obviously so few manufacturers allow customization.
Yeah.
Most would not even entertain the request of, actually, do you think we could do something cool and funky and change from what it was? No, you must stick with how it was originally because that's how I intended it. Definitely kind of an element of ego in there, isn't there?
Yeah, 100%.
But I hope you don't mind me saying, I think the platinum with the purple works amazing, and it's got a depth to it that you wouldn't necessarily.
There's like a sparkle in the sun. It's kind of almost got a bit of aventurine in there. Yeah, and I don't have any other purple dial watches, so for me now the collection is at a point where everything I have has to add something. It has to either be a different dial color, a different material, a different complication, a new brand. I can't add any, so I would never get another black and red DLC watch. It has to all be something different. So that's just so out there. I don't think I have any platinum watch. Actually, I think it's the only one, the only purple dial, the only upside down complication. I adore it.
I think we can all identify with having that kind of each individual watch representing something different in the collection, and that's what makes it so great and also
so dangerous.
So dangerous, and an illness. Let's face it.
It's such a wide brief as well because there's so many different complications and things out there that it isn't a limiting factor. It's still not a limiting factor, really.
It's true. The first thing I said to Tom when I saw it was loving the colour of the dial, but also the crown not being at 3 o'clock. And we're not going to come to Romain Gauthier yet, but as you can see, that also has a crown off centre where it would normally be on the case. Now we already touched on this piece, which anyone who knows anything about independent brands over the last 15 years knows that what Laurent Ferrier has done, in my view, is nothing short of exemplary. He has, I think, mastered the models of real elegance and subtlety. But this is a piece that you are not going to see every day. This is not your, let's say, normal sport auto, which in of itself is a very beautiful watch. Tell us a little bit about this one, Tom.
Well, that is as you said, this is the Grand Sport Tourbillon. It was brought out in 2000. I think it came out in 2019 to celebrate, I think it's 50 years since Mr. Laurent Ferrier and his co-driver, and I've forgotten his name. That's incredibly rude. Anyway, Laurent Ferrier himself raced in Le Mans. He came, I think, third back in 50 years. It's
79, I think.
79, right? Yeah, I think so. Sounds about right. Quick maths, terrible. So yeah, it's 50-year anniversary of that podium in Le Mans. It is their first sports piece. It's their first tourbillon, I think. Oh no, it's 10 years of their anniversary of their tourbillon. And I think that's it, really.
Because Laurent Ferrier debuted with a tourbillon, and they went straight in the deep end at GPHG.
Double spiral.
Correct.
Yeah.
And frankly, knocked it out the park.
Yep.
Their dress watches are unbelievably elegant, and they really transposed that into their sports watches.
Yeah.
And many of you will know, I'm sure, that Laurent Ferrier was actually creative director, if I'm not mistaken on the actual title, at Patek Philippe for 37 years.
So there's some sort of chat about he designed the Aquanaut, and someone was saying he wasn't there at the right time and all this kind of stuff. But he very definitely had a hand in Aquanaut, Nautilus. He was around. He was in the mixer, and you can see some of that design language is carried through onto there with his own kind of twist. I don't think it's Aquanauty enough to be kind of seen as a sort of a copy or anything. I think it's got enough of its own design language in there with the onion crown and that sort of cushion case. But you can definitely see there's some influence in there, and it's part of the story as well.
I mean, it's definitely 70s, maybe even late 60s.
Yeah.
I've had people describe the case as almost like a TV, an old school cathode ray tube TV case, and they love it for that reason. The whole concept behind Laurent Ferrier is it's supposed to feel like a smooth pebble over time. Now, of course, this doesn't have the bracelet with it. What it has is actually a very cool, very subtle rubber strap with also double deploying clasp. But the color of the dial, I don't think I've ever seen a watch with this kind of hue before.
It's strange. It's like a taupe kind of colour, and the sapphire is actually tinted as well. So I believe it's tinted around the edges, so you kind of get this darkening effect around towards the edges. Against that orange lume, it's inspired. I've not seen anything like that.
As they hit it out the park, but in a way that it is as I said, understated. It is for those who know. I think it's probably.
If you know, you know. If you don't, we can still have a boring chat about it.
Which we probably will.
Yeah, but even on the clasp, there's no branding. You can you can just see it like sort of laser etched on the side, but there's no branding sort of jumping out at you. You've got the Sport Auto, haven't you?
Sport Auto, yeah. And so this is titanium, grade 5.
I think it's actually steel. I think it's actually steel. I think so, yeah, but I could be wrong, and that sounds absolutely awful.
It doesn't actually say.
No, it was limited to 12 examples. I believe some of them went to friends and family, and actually when they came out, these were, as I've been pointed out on one of my sort of WhatsApp groups recently, these were actually doing the rounds at kind of, I don't know what it's called when brand basically doesn't sell all their watches, and they do like kind of a discount thing, and it goes out to dealers at sort of X on the dollar.
Right.
These actually did the rounds like super cheap. So the original retail on this I think was $170,000, which is aggressive.
Yep.
Super aggressive. I mean, you're getting a lot of watch, but you're also spending a lot of money.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, I paid nowhere near that. And it was during COVID, and I thought, and the brand hadn't really taken off at that point. And I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to take a punt. I absolutely adore this thing. How much could I possibly lose on this piece? The box suckered me in as well. I didn't bring a van with me, so I couldn't bring it with me. But the box for this thing, it's absolutely enormous. It's got a picture of his race car from the 70s in the background of that, which is an old Porsche. So I was suckered in.
I think it's fair to say that you've done an amazing piece of business there, because now Laurent Ferrier, they make between 500 and 700 watches a year. They have no real plans to increase production. They only make 100 Sport Autos a year.
Really?
So, and as I understand it, you're looking at somewhere in the region of 5 Grand Sports in that time.
Wow.
So it's a phenomenal watch. I love the brand. So honestly, absolutely congratulations, and particularly at that price point.
Thank you.
Next, Czapek, another brand that's close to my heart. Tell us about this one, because this
surprises you. You're happy to see this one.
Happy to see this one. Tell us a bit about this one.
So I'm a big Czapek fan. Had an Antarctique like your one, but I had just the sort of the Bogo white dial. Wore it around on the bracelet, loved it, and they announced this, the Rattrapante split second, the original sort of one of 77 releases they did. I immediately hopped on the blower to Pietro, and I said, "Oi, get me one of those." And it was that time as well. I ordered a Sport Auto,
right?
And I think there was another Antarctique. I think a salmon. So I got completely carried away.
Trying to clean up, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I was writing checks I couldn't cash at that point, but I was doing that with the orders. But I had to have it. I just thought, as a intrinsic value-wise, as a package, it's 120 meters water resistant.
Yeah.
Screw down crown. You've got that split second movement, but it's kind of upside down. So it's skeletonized. You also get it with the bracelet. So it comes with the rubber and deploying clasp, and you also get an amazing bracelet with it as well. And the box, again, another van needed. The box has got a winder in it as well. You probably
really,
yeah. Sorry, mate.
Mine doesn't, just for
how the other half live. I don't think it was a special treat just for me. Pietro slipped me in a good box.
Amazing.
But,
okay.
Yeah, it comes with a Czapek winder in this thing. I mean,
wow.
It's all fun and games, so you have to go and put it somewhere, and you need a big storage unit to chuck them in. So I thought that's great. It even comes with a bracelet tool as well.
Yes.
So do you know what? It's all silly things, but as a package, I loved what Czapek were doing, particularly with the micro rotor in your one. I thought they were doing great things. So yeah. I thought, and also the fact that you could customize it as well. So on the bracelet, you could get polished mid links or satin mid links. You could also customize the second hand as well, same as your one.
Yeah.
You could do full red, white with a red tip, or vice versa, or just all white.
Yeah, of course. I know you don't have the top in Arabic, but obviously on my one you're able to change it either to marker or Arabic for the 12. But I'm a sucker for domed sapphire, and I love the way that this protrudes from the top of the bezel.
Yeah.
I think it's MB&F have kind of cornered the market in that respect, and it gives it an extra feeling of heft, but without the weight, and B, visually and physically. So no, I think they've done a phenomenal job. And let's face it, if you were to take skeletonization, split second, and put it into one of the known big boys, I mean, it's a stainless steel.
Yeah,
right?
still. Yeah.
But even on stainless steel. Yeah. So let's talk about an open work double balance from AP.
Yeah.
You know, the value you're getting with this piece is unbelievable.
And I don't think you could swim around in it. Not that I swim around on that willy-nilly, but it has been I think it's been in the sea or the pool or something like that. But 120 meters is proper as well. It's not just a vanity sort of number, so that you could actually get it wet. So yeah, very, very happy with that watch. I don't quite know what I was thinking ordering it with a white rubber strap. I actually want one like yours now. What colour would you call that?
Well, they do call it salmon. I'm not sure whether that's. It must be. It must be. That's what it. And again, it comes with it. You have the tools. It's all very good. I've touched it when I did a strap video for this watch. I touched on there being some issues with the provision of the strap, which obviously should have come with the box, but it didn't actually come.
I did not.
Came about a year later. But it's okay. It meant that you're excited.
And you were on the bracelet. The bracelets, they've done a good job. The quick release system is amazing.
The bracelet's very nice. Quick release is fantastic. Very super secure with a deploying clasp. So I think they've smashed it. Spoiler alert: I also really love the green meteorite dial one. That is killer. Have you seen that?
Yeah. I think they've done some amazing stuff, and as of today, they've got the Starry Sky, or it's not Starry Sky,
like
something Sky. Yeah. And then the floating diamond marker one as well. I love the Antarctique. Again, though, it comes back to, do I need two? And that's ultimately, I didn't take the salmon in the end, because do I need two Czapeks? I've already got one Antarctique. I was wearing the other one around for a while. I mean,
I hear that. Okay, so that's three. Last one from Romain Gauthier. We've already touched on the crown being at almost like a 1 p.m. Tell us about this piece.
So that is a Romain Gauthier Continuum 2, or the C2. That is a limited run of 38 pieces. It is in DLC titanium. The whole thing's in titanium, in fact. Movement, I think the dial is as well. I assume the dial is. It is
unbelievably light.
It's unbelievably light.
Even though it's on a strap,
there's nothing to it.
There's nothing to it.
Yeah. It is. I think it's a 41mm case, but it doesn't really wear like a 41. It kind of just sort of wraps around your wrist. And what I love about this watch is if you're amongst a bunch of watch geeks, everyone loves it. If you're a bunch of people that you might not necessarily want, knowing that you're wearing a sort of 30 grand watch, they haven't got a clue. So I wore that in today, into London today. No problem at all. I wear that around all over the place. Probably gonna start wearing it less now. I'm broadcasting that, but I absolutely adore it. I tried to get the C1 on the first drop that came out. Every time the Continuum is released, they're basically all pre-sold by the time they go public. So I missed the boat about 5 times. I think they're on their 6th Continuum edition now. So C6 has just come out with some skeletonization. I adore the brand. I think Romain's a fantastic bloke. I really like what they're doing. I like the way they're doing it. I think they have an incredibly bright future. Chanel bought into them, I think, in 2011, but I might have made that up. I think they've got a great future. I think they're doing great things, and I wanted a piece of the brand. I wanted their entry sports piece, but as an entry sports piece, the movement, the finishing, everything is absolutely unbelievable. And the after sales as well. I've got friends that have kind of broken their watches, been a bit, I don't know, they've had a bit too much fun in them and stuff. And the after sales and stuff, the way the brand handles things, it makes all the difference. You never hear anything bad about the brand. Anyone that works there, the way everything's dealt with, it's just fantastic. I've been for dinner with Romain and some of the guys. It's a fantastic brand. And I would buy another one. I want a logical one, with the fusee chain. Yeah. I want one of those, but I'm currently trying to work out which bank to rob before that happens.
You've mentioned about these watches being of a limited number. So 12 or 77. How important is that to you? And the reason why I ask that is you've got lots of brands out there who are continuously launching limited editions. How does it?
It's not my precursor. It's not. It's probably come across that I only buy things. That's one of 38, you know, and it has to be one of very low numbers. But it's not always the case. I think Ludo's made a load of these. I'm not 100%. I mean, obviously there's only one now with that dial, but it's not incredibly important. Yeah, of course it helps. And unfortunately, I'm not at the financial level where I can just completely disregard potential like value retention. It's something that I wish I didn't need to look at, but in terms of having limited numbers, it does help. It helps me be able to massage the maths in my head and massage the logic of buying yet another watch that I'm probably going to be too scared to wear in London. So it is quite important. I think brands have gone overboard now in terms of just there's an edition for everything now. There's every day of the week there's an edition for everything. But I do quite enjoy the collab side of things. When brands do collabs, I like it when a typically boring brand collabs with like a media outlet or something, and they get a bit more creative freedom. They get an excuse just to mess around with some design language or some colours that they wouldn't normally do. So it's got a place. But I sound like a sort of limited edition sort of vulture, which I guess I'm in the right place.
I'm in exactly the same boat as you, and there are times when you get almost a bit tired of the continuous launch of limited this or
my inbox every single day. I think it was like 3 today. That Mad One spinner thing.
Yes,
it's been relaunched today.
Yes.
I found myself in the checkout earlier. I was like, what are you doing?
Which in of itself,
get out of there.
It's a bear in mind it is a bona fide EMBNF.
It is now. Apparently, it's got Swiss movement.
You're buying in at an incredible price point, and so I totally get it. But when you start sort of revamping just for the sake of it, just by changing a color and then saying it's going to be set limited because of that.
I didn't like the originals. I thought they all looked like hockey pucks. I didn't enjoy them at all. That said, I did get one. I just got suckered in. But the new one, they made it slimmer and they put a new movement. I think this new one has some level of. I would probably wear it once or twice. Didn't go through with the checkout.
You saved yourself.
It probably would have bounced back anyway. So.
I'm bringing us onto that. What have you got on the horizon?
What have I got on the horizon?
Like your next piece?
I've got a phrase which I don't think we can swear on this channel. But I've got a phrase now for my collection. It's hitters, not. And I've no more like kind of
the
lower end stuff. I've bought so many sort of that would be good at sort of everyday watch. I can wear that, and I've got enough stuff now that I can kind of rat around in. And I'm not too precious about. I just want stuff that's going to be really stressful to me. So I want a Grubel.
Okay.
I do want a Grubel. There's a few aggressive things in the mix. I do want a logical one as well, but they've stopped selling them, so I'm going to have to find one on pre-owned market. Blah 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 blah.
Well, when you are looking for your Grubel, then I'm sure we'll be able to help you out with that one. Look, Tom, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for bringing these in.
Appreciate it.
I love talking about these brands. As without repeating myself, I have a special place in my heart for these two. But the Ballouard and the Gauthier, all very different, all occupy different places in the collection, which I think is another thing to me that's very important. Because once you start having that overlap, then now it's not to say that you can't have it, but to me that's when you lose a reason to wear a particular watch. Absolutely. and the last thing you want is for them to start gathering dust. Absolutely.
And I would say anyone's got any sort of questions or anything like that, either hashtag talk to Pietro or just talk to Ludo. Pietro, I'm sure, will put you in touch, and he wants to make crazy stuff. So a lot of these brands, they don't want to. If you suggest something absolutely ridiculous to Ludo, if it can even be feasibly possible, he will run with it. He's not going to say no. He wants to make mental stuff. He genuinely enjoys what he does. If you've got any stupid ideas, bombard Pietro first and foremost. But I think this was originally designed to be a piece unique, but I did have a few people sort of badgering me about it. So I think they may well have some more material for that dial. I don't know. Ask Pietro anyway.
Well, if there was ever a reason to want to get involved with independent brands, I think that's it. The idea that you can really have a far greater connection with the brand and potentially even the actual owner than you would get in the far more mainstream. Tom, Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Guys, that's enough for now. We'll see you next time.